Hi, this is Ted. Today I'm going to be talking about war games in King David's time period. I caught this, actually I was going to do a 10 games in the Bible series, but then I realized that one kind of overshadowed the rest because it was so interesting. So I decided to check out more about it. And in my research, I came across several games that I found were very interesting. All right, first of all, you have, oh, these are modern games, by the way. I found there's extreme ironing. So if some of you really like to iron, this is an awesome sport to get into, especially if you like to also parachute or go underwater or do whatever. Extreme ironing, you could revive this kind of game. I think it would be awesome. I think it would be great for TikTok or for YouTube or something. Extreme ironing. Mud pit belly flopping. This is also a lot of fun, which I think you could get into. You could do toe wrestling. This was kind of popular for a while. I don't know if it still is. I've never heard of it. But you know what? If you need something to do at a party, everybody take your shoes and socks off and do some toe wrestling. Finally, during the 60s, I believe, the 50s and 60s, it was very popular to wrestle with octopi. So that's plural for octopus. So you could be octopus wrestling, and that was also very, very popular. I would not suggest trying to revive that because people will get upset that you are giving terrible, terrible feelings to that poor octopus, and I don't blame them for feeling that way. But if you want to eat that octopus, they do accept this. I guess that's okay then. Now, what I was looking for in this search was what kind of games are played nowadays or even throughout history. More I was interested in history. War games, kind of where if you lose, you're gonna die. And I didn't find a lot in there. There's one, I'm not sure this is legendary more than truth, but evidently based in truth. Let's say that way. It's based in truth. And that is the Vikings. They used to have tug of wars, and they use pig skins and they do animal skins, and they twist it all together and create a rope out of it, and then both sides would be tugging away, and in the middle was a big huge fire pit. And if you lost, some claim that you would die because you could be put into that fireplace. Not sure, because these are co-warriors. They've just conquered a village, and now they're fighting over who gets to get the finest of the women in the village to rape. And that seemed to be the whole purpose of this tug of war. Let's see, today I started thinking, well, what do we have today? We have movies. You got things like Hunger Games, where poor little Katniss is running around trying to kill other people so she can be the final one out of, 24 people? And only one person gets to win. And of course, well, I'm not going to give away the ending of the movie. You've probably seen it already. But that seemed to be interesting. And also I found out that a lot of the video games, you can't win unless you die. Because if you die, you sacrifice your life for the world. And therefore, the world is saved and your game is over and you win by dying. I did find out a little bit more about history. I went back in and looked more historically, and of course, you get the Roman arenas. I found out more about the Vikings. They did things like had swimming contests, and in their swimming contests, you could try to drown the person next to you. And there's definitely battles in the arenas, in the Roman arenas, battles. There's drowning as they actually flooded the arena and had ships and people trying to kill each other, etc., etc. I'll leave that as where that is. I really want to get into what the Bible says about this kind of war games. And I come up with two of them during David's time. And the first one you see in David and Goliath, what's going on here is the generals get together and they decide, it's kind of boring, so let's do a little game playing. We're going to see that a little bit later in another spot, 2 Samuel chapter 2. But in this particular case, it's a little bit more threatening. It's not Not so fun, at least not for the Israelites, because there's a champion. There's a guy who grew up learning all about how to fight battles. This guy's good. Not only that, but he's huge. And nobody wants to deal with him. Nobody in the Philistine side even wants to spar with him because he's so good. And it's like, I'm not going against him. No, it's your turn. The last person he crushed, I'm not doing it. So Goliath was just monstrous. And they look to Israel and they say, hey, listen, we don't need to have battle and kill everybody. We just have two people. Our Goliath against your best. Well, who do you think their best is? At that time, it was King Saul. King Saul was taller than anybody in Israel. And so he's looking around and thinking, I wonder who they want. Plus, he's skilled, more skilled than pretty much most of the other soldiers because he's had some battle training. All right, so it doesn't fare well for him. And to save face, he says, listen, anybody want to deal with this character? If you win, you can have the throne, future possibility of the throne. In other words, you get my oldest daughter. And of course, the throne went to family members usually, so this was something that was a bit attractive to people. Oldest daughter, plus no taxes the rest of your life for you and your family. But nobody wants to take him up on it except David. Why? Because David knew something. I don't think David could fight Goliath hand-in-hand combat. But he had a slingshot, which was their version of a pistol. So you can have, from that many feet away, you have the advantage until Goliath comes into that territory where you are no longer distanted from him. Then Goliath totally will take David. But David knows he has that opportunity until Goliath comes within a certain reach. And if Goliath has a spear, which he does, that even makes it harder. Okay, that's even more distant. So David has to have a really good weapon, and he does. He has been tending sheep all his life and practicing all his life, whipping stones, throwing it at things, and he got good at it. And that's how he brings down Goliath. All right, that's game number one. Game number two, we have two armies pitted against each other. See, when Saul died, King David was not necessarily the next to be in the throne because Saul had a son. And the son has an army, and David has an army, and they have generals. Those generals are going at it. Why? Because they're trying to gain the total dominance of both territories. So the two generals come together and their armies come together and things get really tense, really tense. Both sides are building up in tension. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? The generals decide, well, while we're waiting for something to happen, let's have a little game. You get your 12 finest, I'll get my 12 finest. We'll pit them against each other and watch to see what happens. What's fun we'll have. Sure, we love sports. It's kind of like the cage match, only unto death. So these 12 people get together on each side, and I don't know if they blew a whistle or blew a horn or whatever, but both sides, every person does the same maneuver, the same maneuver. They both grab each other, their opponent, by the head, or by the hair, or by the beard. I'm not sure, probably by hair or beard. Why? Because it's going to be hard to pull somebody down and keep any kind of control of that person just by the head. Needless to say, pull the person down, stab him in the side, and kill him. It's an offensive move. It's an offensive move that probably worked in battle. And these people are not necessarily trained in war all that well. So maybe that's kind of the maneuver they learned. It's an aggressive, offensive move, not one that's defensive. Why? Because none of them knew how to get out of that problem. And had they been trained in defense, that would not have happened. You would not have seen 24 people die. Both sides, with all the pent-up aggression, go at each other, and there's a big battle. King David's side won that day. All right, those are the two battles during King David's time that I thought were very interesting. Games that were played back in his day. And this is Ted. You all have a good day.